As most people know by now, Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss both take place in the same universe. Both shows take place in Hell, and while no major characters have crossed over to interact with someone from the other show directly, the connections are obvious. You can see Charlie's news broadcast on Luna's computer screen way back in the Helluva Boss pilot. Early designs for Blitzo were seen at the same news studio in the Hazbin Hotel pilot. Travis has appeared in both shows, and the lore of Hell connects the two more than anything else. What a lot of people here may not know, however, is that Vivziepop has plans to connect her various stories that take place in separate universes as well, such as Zoophobia, and I think I may have found how she is going to do it, with a character that has appeared in Helluva Boss related materials, Spindle Horse. But before we jump into that, I want to remind you guys to click that subscribe button. Less than 2% of the viewers on our last video were actually subscribed to us, and it makes me feel unloved, and you guys love me, right? So for those of you who don't know what Zoophobia is, it was actually the birthplace of Hazbin Hotel itself. Long before Hazbin began its own production, Vivziepop was working on Zoophobia as a webcomic, which focuses on a young woman with a fear of animals becoming a counselor at a magical school for anthropomorphic creatures. The story started lighthearted and never made it too far into its planned 10 volumes, but early on they introduced a character named Damien, who was meant to be the son of Satan, as well as a few other demonic characters from Hell who managed to escape it by attending this strange academy. At some point, the comic was going to have an entire arc titled Angels and Demons, during which we were going to meet Charlie, Alistair, and Angel. While not much is known about it, it seems that the story would focus on a conflict similar to the one seen in Hazbin Hotel, but with a stronger focus on angels as well. It would seem that, while developing this arc, Vivziepop felt its story was strong enough to stand on its own, so much so that Zoophobia ended up being put on the back burner so that she could start producing Hazbin Hotel, leading to the show we know and love today. A lot of Zoophobia characters have appeared in the background for Hazbin Hotel, with some, like Alistair, greatly resembling characters from within the comics, which led many fans to speculate that, like Helluva Boss, Zoophobia takes place in the same universe. But Vivziepop has confirmed that Zoophobia is in its own universe, likely because the lore she had introduced for Zoophobia's Hell would contradict the new ideas she had for the show itself, as well as its characters like Damien and where they fit into the hierarchy. There are currently plans to sort of reboot Zoophobia, both as a comic and with shorts, one of which has made its way to completion on her channel. But this reboot will seemingly keep Zoophobia in its own universe instead of using it as an opportunity to tie it into the Hazbin-verse. Since then, however, Vivziepop has stated in live streams that she intended to find a way to connect her stories that take place in separate universes, and I think I may have discovered how she plans to do that, and she's already started working it into Helluva Boss through its expanded materials. As a lot of you probably know, both Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss have a series of Instagram accounts modeled after characters from the show, meant to be a canon insight into the characters' lives behind the scenes as they produce new episodes. Oftentimes, the Instagram posts will reference things that happen in the show, sometimes before they even happen. For instance, certain events from Hazbin Hotel music video Addict are set up by the Instagram post showing Angel preparing for his night dancing at the club. In episode 1 of Helluva Boss, we see that Blitz has created little toy models of Moxie and Millie, and on his Instagram account, we see several posts detailing how he found little pieces of these toys and started putting them together. They will often even feature original plot lines that are meant to set up dynamics within the show, such as Val and Vox getting into a fight on Instagram, breaking up, Vox forcibly removing the account since he's the one who controls Voxtagram in Hazbin Hell, and then later reinstating his account when they inevitably make up, something that apparently happens a lot with these two characters. Then of course we get the weirdest story of all, one so outlandish that it just kept striking me as important in some way, the story of Blitz and his supposed horse. At this point, it's no secret that Blitz is obsessed with horses. In the most recent episode, we found out that he broke up with Verosica, stole her credit card, and used it to buy horseback riding lessons. And around the Imp office, we can see a list of names he has planned for his horses, and it is apparently his goal to save up enough money from the job to buy his own horse. On Instagram, he starts off by constantly drawing horses and talking about them, but at some point, he begins to claim that he actually has a pet horse. In each post, he changes the horse's name, as he is never able to decide which one is best for it. Despite constantly talking about this supposed horse he owns, we never actually see it in any of the photos. He will often claim that his horse did this for him or that for him, chose his outfit, or said some funny thing, but we never see it. Once in a while, he will try taking a photo with the horse, but claim that they ducked out of the frame at the last moment. Finally, this all comes to a head with a strange subplot where Blitz is out on the town and accidentally witnesses a murder, unknowingly taking a photo of the culprit while trying to take a selfie. This is followed up by a post that reveals that Blitz was in fact kidnapped by this other demon, and finally a third post where we see this strange horse, who Blitz claims to be his horse, rescuing him. Here, he claims that the horse's name is Spindle. Now, if this sounds familiar, it is probably because you remember the logo for VisiPop's production company, Spindle Horse. While it would be fun to write this off as a coincidence, this horse seemingly broke down not just a wall, but some sort of magical wall, with a sort of magical light spilling out from behind it as it does so. A few posts later, Blitzer reveals that he has to say goodbye to his horse, that Spindle is claiming she has to leave. Before doing so, the horse confirms that it is going to stay with its name Spindle. This was the last we hear on this story until very recently, when Blitz posts a photo of a poster that simply says, "I met God and she is a horse," a secret poster that Blitz has. It would appear to me that this Spindle horse, modeled after the logo of their production company, is the god of the Hazbin multiverse. While I don't think the characters will get to heaven and see this horse as God at some point, I think that it is a fun way that VisiPop has created to connect her universes, a personification of her production company itself, a god of not Hazbin Hotel's universe, but for its entire multiverse, including things like Zoophobia and whatever she comes up with next. The horse even has some distortion effect in her design that gives the impression that she's breaking in from outside of reality. While I cannot say whether or not this horse was actually with Blitz for as long as he claimed it would seem that when Blitz's life was at stake in a way that doesn't factor into the story in an episode, Spindle Horse burst in to save him so that the show wouldn't get cancelled or ruined by his death. And I don't think that is the last we will see of her. The point of this is to connect the stories together that don't take place in the same universe, and with Zoophobia being the only story on the horizon that we know for sure doesn't take place in the same world as Hazbin Hotel, I imagine we will be seeing her show up there in some way next. Whether or not this will be in an actual story within the comics that makes it an undeniable part of VisiPop's multiverse lore, or like with Helluva Boss, it will be explored in some peripheral way so that people don't need to worry about where it fits into the story, remains to be seen. But what do you guys think? Is this how VisiPop connects her different shows and comics, or was it just a really weird subplot to put on the Helluva Boss Instagram, and it just happens to be a fun way to wrap it up and reference their own name? Let me know in a comment down below, and I'll see you next time.